The metal door screeched shut behind Marcus Kane as four armed guards shoved him into the pit. He hit the stone floor hard, tasting copper in his mouth, while above him the Valdorian wardens laughed like breaking glass. "Enjoy your last meal, human," one called down. "Or rather, enjoy being one." Marcus pushed himself up slowly, deliberately, as shadows stirred in the corners of the vast cell. The air reeked of sulfur and old meat. Chains rattled. Something large breathed in the darkness, no, several somethings. The dragons were waking up. The Valdorians had made their prison simple, throw the condemned in with their pet monsters, place bets on how long they'd last. Most prisoners screamed. Some prayed. A few tried to climb the smooth walls. Marcus Kane did none of these things. He simply stood, wiped the blood from his split lip, and smiled. "Hello, brothers," he whispered to the darkness. "I've been in worse cages than this." The first dragon emerged from the shadows. Scales like molten obsidian, eyes burning amber, teeth designed to rend flesh from bone. It was magnificent. It was terrible. It circled Marcus like smoke given form, nostrils flaring as it scented him. The Valdorian spectators pressed against the observation glass above, eager for the show. They captured this human during a raid on a cargo vessel, found him alone in the hold, surrounded by the corpses of his own crew. Pirates, they assumed. Murderer, they judged. Dragon food, they decided. They had no idea what they'd really caught. The black dragon lunged. Marcus didn't flinch. At the last second, he sidestepped with liquid grace, his hand trailing along the creature's neck. The dragon skidded to a halt, confused. Prey was supposed to run. Prey was supposed to scream. "You're hungry," Marcus said conversationally, his voice carrying an odd gentleness. "They keep you hungry so you'll perform." "I understand. I was kept hungry once too." Two more dragons emerged. One green as poison, another white as old bone. They flanked him, growling low in their throats. The Valdorians above cheered, anticipating the kill. Marcus sat down cross-legged on the cold stone floor. The dragons paused. In their decades of being fed prisoners, none had ever done this. The white dragon sniffed closer, its breath hot enough to singe. "Do you know what the difference is between us and them?" Marcus asked the dragons, gesturing lazily toward the watching aliens. "We know what we are. They pretend they're civilized while they watch us tear each other apart for entertainment. At least when I kill, I don't dress it up as justice." The black dragon settled on its haunches, still wary but no longer attacking. Something in the human scent was wrong. Not prey wrong, predator wrong. The kind of wrong that made even dragons cautious. "You want to know a secret?" Marcus's eyes never left the dragons, but his words were meant for the watchers above. Monsters aren't born. They're made by the things you do to them, by the cages you put them in, by the pieces of their soul you carve away until only the sharp edges remain. The Valdorian warden, Executor Thax, frowned from his viewing platform. This wasn't going according to script. He activated the cell's pain inducers, electric prods meant to agitate the dragons into violence. The dragons roared as electricity coursed through their collars. They thrashed, wings beating against stone walls, fire blooming in their throats. Marcus stood slowly in the chaos. His expression never changed, but something shifted in the air around him. The temperature seemed to drop. "You just made a mistake," he said, and for the first time his voice carried something dark. "You showed me they collar you too." What happened next would haunt Executor Thax for the rest of his considerably shortened life. Marcus moved like water, like shadow, like death-given form. He didn't run from the pain-maddened dragons, he moved between them, around them, with them. His hands found their collars in the chaos. Military-grade restraints designed to withstand dragon fire and fury. They weren't designed to withstand human ingenuity and 10 years of breaking every lock in a Federation maximum security prison. The first collar clattered to the floor. Then the second. The third. The dragons stopped thrashing. They stood still, perhaps for the first time in decades, feeling the absence of weight around their necks. They looked at the human who had freed them while they tried to kill him. "There's something you should know about humans," Marcus addressed the now silent observation deck. "We're persistence predators. We don't kill with claws or fangs. We kill with patience. With intelligence. With the ability to see weakness where others see strength." The green dragon nudged Marcus's hand, a gesture almost like gratitude. He patted its snout absently, his eyes never leaving the Valdorians above. "You caged me with dragons. But you never asked what broke me first. What made me the kind of thing that would slaughter 30 men on a cargo ship, not for money, not for vengeance, but because they reminded me of you." of creatures who put other creatures in cages for sport. Executor Thax was screaming into his communicator, demanding backup, demanding gas, demanding anything. But the prison systems were failing. Something was in their network, corrupting data, opening doors. Marcus smiled wider. Did you really think I was alone on that ship? That I did all that damage by myself? No. I had help. Very small, very clever help that's been spreading through your systems since the moment you brought me here. You see, I knew exactly where your patrols would be. I wanted you to catch me. The lights cut out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in hellish red. In that crimson glow, Marcus looked like something out of ancient nightmares, not the dragons beside him, but the thin human with clever fingers and calculating eyes. Here's the difference between dragons and humans, he said as blast doors throughout the prison began opening. As hundreds of captive dragons felt their collars deactivate. As chaos bloomed like a poisonous flower. Dragons kill because it's their nature. Humans? We kill because we choose to. And we're so very, very good at choosing. The observation glass cracked as the first freed dragon slammed into it. Executor Thax saw his own reflection fracture into 1,000 pieces, saw Marcus Kane standing calmly in the center of a growing storm of scales and fire and vengeance. The human's final words carried over the sirens, over the screams, over the roar of unleashed dragons. You didn't lock me in with monsters. You locked the monsters in with someone who understands them. Who is broken the same way. Who speaks their language of rage and pain and patient, careful violence. Within an hour, the prison would fall. Within 3, the Valdorian slave trade would be crippled beyond repair. The dragons would scatter to the stars, finally free. And Marcus Kane would vanish into the chaos he'd orchestrated, leaving behind only a message scorched into the warden's desk. The real monsters are the ones who create them. The Valdorians had thought they were feeding a human to dragons. Instead, they'd handed a weapon to someone who'd been sharpening his hatred for 10 years, waiting for the perfect moment to remind the universe that humans didn't conquer their world by being prey. They did it by being the apex predator that looked harmless until it was far too late.